Greetings all! Today, we will be examining the relatively uncommon Poison-type Pokemon Trubbish, the Trash Bag Pokémon, and its relatively rare evolution Garbodor, the Trash Heap Pokémon. While they might not be fondly adored as much as other Pokemon as a result of their abnormal forms and vile origins, the members of the Trubbish family are still fascinating creatures that can more than make use of the trash of others to make themselves a toxic threat in battle. Trubbish have lumpy green bodies with a thin skin that keeps their form intact, with a single pair of small feet-like appendages on the lower half and a top knot of plastic skin on the top of their body. They have a single pair of large eyes with black pupils and a large opening for a mouth with a sharp fringe of metal for teeth on their upper jaw, while their sides are adorned with two masses of fused garbage that spill out from their body, acting in place of hands for interacting with objects and creatures in their environment. Their evolved form, Garbodor, have the same general body shape, though in their case their green plastic skin has broken apart across most parts of their body, the mass of trash that forms their core being too large to be contained in the material. They have a pair of horn-like bulbs of trash on their heads, with a lower body that is comprised entirely of trash, including their large, thin, pancake-like feet. Their large mouth serves as an entrance into their putrid interiors, and their garbage hands have changed form, with their right arm ending in a lump of trash with three pipes that act as fingers and nozzles for shooting acid, while the left hand ends in a pipe-like structure that they wrap around targets to grasp objects and other creatures. The members of the Trubbish family are creatures born of unusual circumstances, and as a result of their forms, are not widely loved like many other types of Pokemon and people. These creatures are actually the result of a sentient amoeba-like colonial organism thriving and growing in such large numbers as to share a collective intelligence that allows them to operate together as a single organism. However, this particular organism is unique because instead of eating other living creatures, they specialize in being able to eat and break down materials that are otherwise indigestible to other creatures, namely trash. These creatures originated from the Unova region, which, several decades ago, was in a garbage crisis, as there wasn't an effective system in place within the region to help clear out garbage that could not be easily composted or simply thrown into dumps without too much care. This garbage included everything from styrofoam to plastic to even toxic industrial waste, and it is believed that the microbes that these beasts are comprised of thrived so much in this otherwise toxic environment that they grew into large enough masses to acquire a collective sentience, giving birth to the Pokemon now known as Trubbish and Garbodor. As a consequence of this, these creatures have bodies that are almost completely made out of pure compacted garbage, and subsist off of it, devouring garbage everywhere they go, in order to keep their bodies intact and allow them to grow. At a young age, these creatures are usually quite manageable, but they can become a serious threat if they get too large and become aggressive, so many efforts have been made over the years to try and eradicate them. This, however, has been met with some surprising backlash, as many believe that these creatures, now a part of this world, deserve to be a part of it just as any other Pokemon does. So to say that the debate regarding how to handle them is a hot-button issue is an understatement. Thankfully, in places like the Alola region, their threat is mitigated somewhat, as there exists a predator for them in the form of Alolan Grimer and Alolan Muck. As a result of the goopy and nasty-smelling trash that comprises their form, these creatures can possess the stench ability as a base ability, while those that are able to effectively store combustible gases in their body before using internal heat to ignite the gases in defeat can also possess the Aftermath ability as a hidden ability. In addition, it is noted that Trubbish, because of the sticky liquid that coats their appendages, can also possess Sticky Hold as a base ability, while the broken and exposed body forms of their evolved form, Garbodor, instead make them somewhat brittle and grants them access to the Weak Armor ability as a potential base ability instead. As far as their stats are concerned, in the case of Garbodor, these monsters are fairly well-rounded as a whole and do not have any stats that immediately jump out as exceptional, but it is noted that their physical forms provide them a strong base for close-quarters combat and in taking damage, resulting in their base HP, attack, and defense stats being above average for a fully evolved Poison-type Pokemon, while everything else is below average. As such, these creatures can leave a nasty taste in the mouths of just about any Pokemon they face, and ultimately prove to be a toxic threat that only Steel types will be completely protected against. While their physical forms might not be the most appealing out there, and their preference for living in unsanitary conditions might make them something that few want to run into, it is interesting to note that despite their appearances and powers, Trubbish are actually incredibly friendly towards people and Pokemon alike, and love nothing more than being able to play with others. In a way, this can be seen as symbolic, as it was the waste of humans that led to their creation, but however you choose to look at it, Trubbish can actually make good playmates for children in most cases, as they are non-aggressive and are especially known for loving hugs. However, in dealing with these creatures, it is important to note that there are two aspects to them that can make them a potential hazard if one is not careful on how they choose to approach them. For one thing, in order to maintain their bodies, these creatures have to feed on trash regularly, gorging themselves until their bodies are completely full, and this can sometimes lead them to follow strangers that are littering and eat toys and other small objects that can upset the children they are with, so they need to be carefully controlled to keep them from causing trouble in their search for food. Secondly, and more importantly, when these creatures feed, their bodies break down the trash into the vital nutrients they need to keep their colonial form working, but excess volatiles and chemicals are then released from their body in the form of a belch of toxic gas. This gas not only smells awful, but can actually be dangerously toxic, being strong enough to knock an adult human out for a week if they get a full breath of it, and more than strong enough to send a child into a life-threatening crisis. These wee beasties do not intend to harm others with this gas, and will do their best to try and keep their smelly breath away from others though, so at the very least, they are self-conscious about it, and in turn can be worked with to heavily minimize the threat they otherwise pose to others. Though this does them little good in the Alola region, where their friendly demeanor is often taken advantage of by Alolan Grimer and Alolan Muck, their only true predators, who are often attracted to the smell of the gas they belch. However, while Trubbish might be somewhat safe to approach in many cases, the evolved form Garbodor are an entirely different story. While these monsters might normally be at least somewhat friendly, their powers are far greater than that of Trubbish, and they are able to use their massive body size to become a terrifying force to behold. For one thing, though their bodies are a bit brittle in some cases, their cohesive hold allows these creatures to deliver full-body physical strikes to damage and potentially paralyze others from the impacts, learning the body slam attack in place of the takedown attack normally learned by Trubbish, and tend to be much more aggressive in a combat scenario. While these creatures still need to feed on trash to keep their bodies intact, in their case, they do so voraciously as a result of their body being mostly exposed to the elements, and these monsters are not afraid to devour live prey as well and break their forms down, hard parts and all, in order to get the nutrients their biological components require. Normally, this involves these creatures getting close to a potential prey item and using the left arm to wrap around a target to lock them in a vice grip. Once they have done this, they will finish off the prey by belching foul-smelling toxic gas in their face, knocking them out or killing them instantly in order to incapacitate them and make them easy to swallow whole. If their opponents are proving to be more resilient though, they have the power to use their right hand to spew out a foul-smelling toxic acid from their 3 fingertips that can quickly dissolve anything short of metallic armor with ease, and poison unprotected Pokemon and people even if they are only directly exposed to a small amount of it, usually making short work of those that would dare to resist them. This horrifying method of execution helps to put these creatures on a different level compared to many different poison-type Pokemon, and serves as the hallmark attribute of these living garbage heaps. Worse yet, these creatures are able to absorb different types of garbage into their forms in order to produce new types of gaseous and liquid toxins with varying effects, making them poison connoisseurs that can handle just about any situation so long as the opposition is not completely protected against their toxins. This as a whole helps to make these Pokemon among the most dangerous of their type, and for a time, the numbers in places like the Alola region made them a serious threat. Thankfully, in the Alola region, the spike in their population numbers was corrected with the introduction of Alolan Grimer and Alolan Muck, their only natural predators, though in turn, that has caused Garbodor in the area to become stronger than elsewhere in the world, just to give them a chance against the only serious threat to their lives. Hideous in form and more than capable of proving to be a serious health hazard to anything around them, the members of the Trubbish family are toxic creatures that can more than leave a lasting effect on those that dare to get too close to them. They might not be the strongest of poison-type Pokemon in every sense, but their access to toxins of all sorts nonetheless makes them a terrible hazard and worth avoiding at all costs if possible. If you ever come across some of these creatures in the wild, do yourself a favor and try to get rid of any and all garbage that you might have on you immediately to avoid them. Otherwise, they will likely be drawn to the smell of it, and while it might not be so bad to be followed by a Trubbish, It's another story entirely if confronted by a hungry Garbodor that sees you as the trash and is more than willing to treat you like it, both literally and figuratively. Thank you all for watching this video. It is always an honor to be able to speak with you all on the subject of Pokemon in a way that brings me great joy and happiness in my work. If you would like to keep tabs on past and future work, click that subscribe button, check out my work on DeviantArt, and don't be shy about following me on Twitter, where you can find pertinent announcements on upcoming work before it is officially posted. Links to both can be found in the video description. If you would like to support my work and help Miguel and I continue to produce more content for you and improve upon our presentation, please visit us at my Patreon page, which you can also find a link to in the video description.
No.
With that, I thank you for watching and I wish you well.